Perfect. Good morning. My name is Kristin Snopkowski. I am serving as the Associate Dean in Residence with the Graduate College. I'm also a faculty member in the Department of Anthropology. Today, we're here to talk about the importance of mentorship. Yeah? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Everyone can see you.
Yeah, great. Make sure that actually,
There we go.
perfect, you can see me. Great. Okay, so we're here today to talk about mentorship, what it is, and how we might be able to have the most effective relationships with potential mentors. So just to give me a sense of who you guys are, those of you who are joining us virtually, if you would just put your department in the chat so I can get a sense of what people's fields of interests are. It'll give me a sense of exactly what your graduate program is going to look like. And then those of you here, would you just share with me what department you're in?
Social work.
Social work. Okay, awesome. Counseling. Okay, great. All right. Seeing Opal, MPH. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you guys. All right, so So there's a variety of different sort of roles or titles that we give different people that we might have interactions with, and it might not necessarily be clear exactly how these different things are similar or different. So one that you're likely familiar with from undergrad is this role of advisor, right? So at most undergraduate institutions, people are assigned an advisor, a person that they work with. So this is kind of more of a formal relationship. Someone is assigned to you. Hopefully this person helped you make positive progression towards graduation. Maybe they might have engaged in a little bit of career advice. But this is actually a slightly different relationship than we're going to be talking about here today with mentors. So other people that you might have interacted with as an undergrad are maybe a tutor, someone who gives you some academic feedback and support. You might have people in your life who provide emotional support, moral encouragement. There may be people that you know that help you with your gaining employment or your career skills. And ideally, a mentor wraps these different relationships potentially into one or many people. So a mentor can be kind of a formal relationship, but it can also occur informally. It can occur within or outside of the academic unit. Of course, for many graduate students, you might be assigned sort of the supervisor who may be a mentor, ideally should be a mentor for you, but you may have additional people that you work with outside or also within the department. This person, hopefully, or at least one of your mentors should be providing support and socialization to the department and the discipline. There's a lot of sort of unwritten rules that you'll learn in graduate school or hopefully learn about in graduate school, and having this mentor is really useful for kind of giving you the lay of the land of this new field. So generally self-selected for professional and personal guidance, ongoing and involves a time element. Hopefully this is a mutual relationship. And while nearly, all undergraduates, for instance, might report that they have an advisor, a lot of people don't actually feel that they have a mentor, right? And so this is really interesting, and we want to really think about how can we cultivate this mentorship relationship. And one person may not be able to do all of these things, right? So you may really want to be thinking about how can you build a mentor network of people who are mentors for you and maybe for different roles. Okay, so mentorship is really important for graduate students. And so let me tell you a little bit about the benefits, the research that's been done on the benefits of having a mentor. Maybe if I can get so much technology on the screen. Okay, so academic research has shown that students who have mentors are more likely to achieve academically and more likely to persist. And this is both at the undergraduate level and the graduate level. We see that being mentored is associated with productivity for graduate students. Students with mentors are more likely to present papers at conferences. They're more likely to publish articles and book chapters. They're more likely to secure grant funding. And among even after graduate school, early career professors, having a mentor is actually strongly correlated with publication productivity. So having a mentor is really useful in terms of sort of being productive and being successful. That's probably not a huge surprise. We also see professional skill development. So mentors help mentees gain the skills they need to be successful. So they might help point you in the right direction for getting teaching experience or other types of skills that you might need, research skills, for instance. Mentors also help their mentees learn the unwritten rules of the discipline and the local, whatever it is, the local lab, the local department, whatever that may look like. We see that students who are mentored, particularly by kind of more prominent scholars, it significantly increases the quality of both their initial and subsequent jobs. They're more likely to be offered a higher salary. Mentees are better able to find initial employment when they have stellar letters of recommendation. So this isn't a surprise, right? You need good letters of recommendation to secure that employment. And one way to be able to get those great letters of recommendation is to have a mentor, a person that you have this strong relationship with. We see that people who have mentors actually make more money and they report more rapid promotions than individuals who don't have mentors. This relationship is really strong for some fields like business. It's not as strong in academia specifically, but it is associated in academia with rates of promotion and sort of career eminence oneself. Some of the things that might be more of a surprise in how mentors are really important is in the areas of things like networking. We are a social, I'm an anthropologist, so I like to think about us in these ways. We are a social species, and it's really important the relationships that we have. Relationships are key for many people to get their foot in the door at a job. Right. So building your network of your professional network is really important. And having a mentor can really open the door to meeting important people. They can help you navigate these networking experiences. So mentors can provide introductions. They may have the inside track on job possibilities. I know, personally, I just got an email last week of someone saying, hey, I have this job that's coming up this year. If you know students who might be a good fit, please let them know, right? So having a mentor who could pass along those opportunities to you is really useful. And being engaged with a mentor may open up doors for working on big collaborative projects that, are being done across different universities or different organizations. Professional confidence. When students work with a faculty member who gets to know them and offers acceptance, confirmation, emotional support, students begin to adopt the mentor's vision as valid, and their confidence and professional esteem rise. So when your mentor believes in you, it helps to allow us to believe in ourselves. Right. And that actually, being confident is so critical to being successful when we're, for instance, at a conference, right? Actually having the confidence to get up there and talk about your research, that is really key. And of course, for employment as well. Satisfaction with the program and the institution. Students are happier and more satisfied with the program when they actually are building these relationships. We are social species. We want to have those positive relationships with other people. And then finally, this is another one that I didn't realize until I had sort of dug into this research a bit, is that a solid mentorship relationship reduces social isolation, it reduces stress, and by having this positive relationship with a mentor, you can talk to them about things like work-life balance, right? And they can help you kind of navigate some of these complexities of graduate school where you might feel burnt out if you don't really know how to navigate this conflict. I see a question here real quick. How can you get a mentor and how does it work for remote students? So yeah, so we live in a world today where there is a lot of remote work. There are many online graduate programs. And so ideally, right, you will be able to either reach out to someone or have someone assigned to you who's going to serve as your supervisor. And this person ideally is going to be meeting with you virtually anyway. But I think that we live in a time and a place now where it's not super out of the ordinary to be able to reach out to someone and say, hey, can I meet with you? And oh, by the way, can that meeting be over Zoom, right? Especially that's more convenient for a lot of people. So it really allows you to potentially broaden your mentor network to include people who may not live in the same town that you do. So yeah, and continue to ask me questions and stop me throughout if there are things that you want to chat about. So at this point, I hope that you recognize and are convinced that it is very beneficial for your mental health, for your success as a graduate student, for your future career to be mentored and to have a good mentorship relationship. Okay, so how do we actually go about setting up our mentorship network? Well, the first thing we really want to think about is, what are your goals, right? If you know what you want to accomplish, then it will help you think about who do you want to have as a mentor. Yes, and so let me go ahead and just answer this question really quickly. So can I ask some of my professors further in a program to be my mentor? So absolutely. So while you may be assigned a particular supervisor in your program, there's many other professors in the department, presumably, that you may want to reach out to just sort of have casual, hey, can we meet? And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a couple slides. Kind of talk about your goals, talk about how they might be able to support those goals. I know, for instance, in my department, I'm the person who teaches all of the statistics courses and the quantitative methods. So a lot of students like to have me as sort of their mentor as it relates to those sorts of topics, that I can provide them feedback on their statistical methods as it comes to their project and things like that, right? So yes, absolutely, you should reach out to some of the other faculty members in the department if you can see particular ways that those individuals might serve as mentors. So yeah, so first thing is, what are your goals? So what I have done is shared a link, and I'm not sure, I might reshare it here real quick and hopefully it'll work. Oops, to everyone. Perfect. So if you go ahead and click on that link, ideally, this document is going to open up. I'm going to hand it out here. People in the room. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else want a handout? No? Okay. All right. So the first thing I have here on this document, and hopefully you guys joining us virtually, can they see this? Yeah, that's good. Okay. Is to kind of think a little bit about what your goals might be in graduate school. And not all of these things are relevant for everyone because you're all coming from different departments. Oh, thanks. Let me reshare and make sure we're here. Perfect. Some of you will need a supervisory committee, right? If you're writing a thesis or you have some other culminating activity, you may need to have a committee. Of course, you all are going to have coursework that you need to work on. You may have coursework in other departments that you need to do. You may have a dissertation defense, right? If you're writing a dissertation, you may want to be applying for different fellowships or different funding. You may have a prospectus, right? Where you actually talk about what you're going to do for your research. There's a variety of different things that, depending on what field you're in, you may need to do. So the way that I've set this document up here is, for those of you joining us virtually, you can go ahead and download a copy of this, and then you can actually make edits to it. I have not made this document editable so that everyone can get a blank copy here. For those of you here in the room, on the left-hand side, you can go ahead and mark if this is something that you will want or need to accomplish for your degree. So these are degree completion goals. And then you can set an actual goal date for that particular activity. And then as you go along, once you actually complete these things, you can actually indicate when you've actually completed them. So these degree completion goals are going to look pretty similar to other students in your degree. But the things, as we move down, we look at skill development, and these might be more individualized. So is it important for you and your career goals to maybe do a guest lecture, right? Get some teaching experience. Maybe you want to design a syllabus. Maybe you want to work on leading discussions. Maybe you want to have some leadership opportunities. Maybe that's contributing with a student organization on campus and having a leadership role. Maybe it's important that you learn some different programming or computer skills, depending on what you want to do when you graduate. Practicing interviewing or job talks, some stuff related to careers. Lots of different things that I've listed here, depending on what your interests are. One thing to point out is there is a graduate teaching certificate here at Boise State. I know that some of the graduate students in my own department have been really interested in pursuing that because they would like to teach when they graduate. We also have some career completion goals. So, what do you want to do when you graduate, right? You're literally stepping in the door here for graduate school. It may feel really early to know exactly what you want to do when you graduate, but once you can identify that goal, then it's going to make it a lot easier for you to really think about how are you going to reach it, who might be the mentors you want to reach out to, and what skills are really important for you to gain while you're here at Boise State. And then the last set I have are professional development goals. In these cases, these aren't things that you do once and you're done with forever, but they're also really important things that we keep in mind. What are your exercise goals, right? Like, how often do you want to make sure that you're checking in with exercise? Maybe you have some nutrition goals or sleep goals. Maybe you have some financial well-being goals. Things related to social activities that you want to remember that these are important things for you, for your own mental health and your enjoyment of life generally, right? So why don't we go ahead and just spend like 3 or 4 minutes kind of looking through that, maybe making some notes, things you definitely want to do, things you definitely don't want to do. Either is fine. As a way to kind of start thinking about what are our goals, and then we'll continue moving on to the next part. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, we're just going to spend a couple of minutes reviewing the goals part of the handout there, and then I'll continue here in about a minute and a half. Okay. So, as I said before, you should really be thinking about this mentoring network or this mentoring team instead of relying on just one person to be your main mentor. One person is unlikely to fill all of the needs that you have, and a team will be able to provide a broader network of support. And so this is obviously a pretty, and the next page in the handout actually has this image here from the slide. There are a lot of different potential people listed here to think about, and you may not end up with, this entire sheet filled out, but it is useful to think about how different individuals might be able to support you in different ways. And so, we might have things like professional development skills, which very much is going to be likely associated with a faculty member, for instance, from your department, or maybe a more advanced graduate student. So being able to potentially reach out to students who've already gone through this process to kind of help you. But there's others like work-life balance, right? Who may not necessarily be the main advisor. Emotional support, right? We may get emotional support from a variety of different people. There's other things on here like someone who looks like me or someone who understands my background, which I think is really useful to kind of think about building connections so that you can navigate these new experiences, and being able to chat with someone who might have a similar background, you might find beneficial. Okay, so how might you go about identifying these individuals? So it's useful to familiarize yourself with the work of the faculty, particularly within your department, but also outside your department as well. You can consider mentors outside of your department, the university or academia. There are actually mentorship like websites out there where you can actually connect with people who are in industry. It's definitely worthwhile to take part in department activities, to observe how faculty interact with students and colleagues. Of course, taking classes from different professors might give you a really good sense as to what their personalities are like and whether or not they might be a good mentor. You can ask senior graduate students about their experience with faculty and with mentors, and also consider them as potential mentors as well. So once you've kind of identified who might serve as a good mentor for you, the next step is to really think about how you're going to go about establishing a mentorship relationship. So requesting a meeting obviously is a good place to start. There can also be more informal ways to kind of just chat with people. And that might be kind of the step before this where you're really trying to identify good mentors. But requesting a meeting to introduce yourself, talk about your interests and your goals, The objective really of the initial meeting is to kind of make a positive impression and to establish this good working rapport. And this can be in person, but it could also be over Zoom or online virtually. You're going to want to assess whether this particular person might be a good fit for you. Keep in mind, of course, that mentoring relationships evolve through time and may begin because of a particular need that you have. So, students might come to me and say, for my thesis, I'm going to be doing this type of research project, and I'm really wondering if I might be able to come to you in the future if I have questions about how I might analyze my data, if you might be willing to provide some feedback on my analysis plan, et cetera, right? So the student has a really clear idea as to how I might be able to serve as a mentor to them. When you're kind of establishing this mentorship relationship and you're asking someone for a meeting, of course, you want to come to that meeting ready to generate discussion, sort of leading the meeting, right? So possible topics of discussion, talk about mutual interests, your goals, the skills, strengths that you might have, maybe the things you want to develop. If you're going to want to be setting up meetings, what is your availability? And what that mentor might be able to provide in terms of potential support. Okay, so it's really important as a mentee. Sometimes when we think about this mentor-mentee relationship, we might think about the mentee as sort of being kind of this more passive person who's like taking information. But what I'm really going to try to persuade you of today is that as mentees, I want you guys to really be an active participant in this relationship. And if anything, maybe be even more active than the mentor themselves. Okay, so as a graduate student, it is your responsibility to develop and demonstrate your abilities to be an independent scholar and researcher, right? So we are here, we are trying to sort of demonstrate how we can be an independent researcher. So what are the types of things that I would argue are going to be your responsibilities as a mentee? So first, we already kind of talked a little bit about your goals. There are different ways that people talk about this. Sometimes people talk about a work plan. More commonly today, I feel like people are talking about these individual development plans or IDPs. Have you guys heard this term before? Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I'm like, yeah, I hear people talk about it. I'm not like super certain exactly what it looks like. But basically, it's just a way to develop a plan to achieve both your short and long-term goals with deadlines. So what do you want to accomplish? How do you see yourself going about it? Okay. Now, you're coming into graduate school. You might not know exactly what you need to accomplish, right? You may not know what your goals should be, and that's okay. Part of your mentor-mentee relationship is to be able to say to your mentor, what do I need to be doing? Like, what do I need to make sure that I do before Christmas or whatever, before the end of the first semester, before the end of the first year? Have them help you figure out what your short and long-term goals should be. Meetings. Okay, and I do want to mention that I actually have in this handout on I don't know, the pages aren't numbered, but the next page is what are my responsibilities as a mentee, and that's kind of going over this material. Of course, you need to show up to scheduled meetings on time. But really, these meetings are going to be most productive when you accept responsibility for leading them. So your role is to raise the issues and questions, while the mentor's role might be more to respond. And in some cases, mentors may be have a really good idea of the types of things that they want to make sure that you do, and they don't necessarily need you to ask those questions. But a lot of times, mentors are very busy and might not have thought through all of these things. So it's really, really useful and will be a much more productive relationship if you can come into the meeting knowing like, hey, I want to ask, like, what should be my short-term goal this semester, right? And that will be more productive. At the conclusion of your meeting, I highly recommend that you actually, one, summarize what you discussed and talk about anything that you said that you would be willing to do before the next meeting, anything that they said they would do before the next meeting, and follow up with an email that kind of outlines those sort of to-do items. If your mentor is facing a work emergency or something else that's come up, try to be flexible. I understand that that can be really frustrating, but being flexible will just contribute to a more positive relationship. Critique and editing. Particularly with your relationship with your supervisor, who is also hopefully your mentor, they will be likely providing feedback to you on different assignments that you're working on throughout the time that you're here. And so it's really useful for you to get a sense of what their philosophy is in terms of critique and editing. So how much feedback do they typically give? Sometimes it can be a bit shocking for students when you get a paper back and there's like sort of the red ink all over. Similarly, it can also be challenging when you get something back that has almost no feedback, right? So as a person who gives probably too much feedback, I am the person who does a lot of red ink. From the mentor's perspective, we are trying to help students become better writers or researchers or whatever. And I like this expression, a labor of love, right? So even though it may look terrifying, it really is with good intentions to try to help students develop into even better researchers. So if you knew everything already, you wouldn't be here, right? You're here to learn. So try really hard to be open to feedback and not get defensive. And also get a sense of how much time, for instance, your mentor might need to give you feedback. So I understand as a graduate student, there's never enough of it. And when you need to have a draft done by a certain date, you want to be able to give it to your faculty person, your mentor, your supervisor the day before and get feedback immediately. But your mentor and supervisor likely will need a certain amount of time. So get a sense as to how much time they need to fully read and give you feedback. Professional development. So these are sort of, in my mind, the unwritten rules of the discipline. And this is really where mentors make a huge, huge difference. So get a sense from them what they recommend that you're doing for professional development, and think about or ask about departmental lectures. Are there things that you should be attending for the department? What conferences should you be going to, if any? Should you be presenting at those conferences? One of the things that sometimes comes as a surprise is that some conferences you have to actually submit your abstract like 6 to 9 months in advance. Very, very, very early. So you know, I have been in academia a long time and I still feel like I miss the deadlines every year. I'm like, oh yeah, that deadline's in September for that like April conference. So get those things on your calendar early, particularly if you want, let's say, in your second year, you want to actually present some of the work that you've been working on during your master's degree or whatever. Get those things on your calendar early. Whether or not there's professional organizations you should be joining, right? So ask for some feedback on that. And once you get that feedback, be sure to follow up on those things and do those things. And then portfolio and references. You're going to want to have some sort of documentation of your accomplishments. And in every field, that's going to look a little different. You know, in computing, maybe this is a GitHub account where you actually keep all your code. In other places, it may look very, very different. Some people, this may just be the CV, right? Or their resume where they're really keeping track of all of these things. But you do want to have a really good documentation of the things that you have done. And when you request letters of reference, which again, we talked about is really critical in terms of the next step for employment, being able to send your CV, resume, portfolio, whatever you have, so that your reference writer, your mentor, your supervisor can write a really good letter. The other thing to remind you of is give them good detail on what you're applying for. So maybe it's a description of the fellowship or grant that you're applying for, or job. And make sure that you give them that, one, you ask permission before you ever write somebody down as a reference on like your CV or resume. And that if you're asking someone to write a letter for you, that you ask them how much time they need and make sure you give them adequate time to have that done. Okay, so those are some responsibilities to kind of keep in mind as a mentee, and hopefully some ideas about the different types of things you would want to communicate with your mentor about. The next thing that I think is actually a really important thing to think about is expectations. So mentor-mentee relationships or supervisor-student relationships can sometimes have conflict. And I think a lot of that conflict actually comes from having different expectations. So the supervisor expects that the student does X, Y, and Z. The student expects the mentor to be doing whatever, A, B, and C. And that there's definitely a conflict between what the expectations are. And so what I have here on the next couple of pages is the expectations in supervision questionnaire. And so I think I actually really like this as a way to get information from your supervisor, or from, hopefully the supervisor will serve as a mentor, as to what they expect in terms of your relationship. So relevant expectation in the context of intercultural research supervision can relate to understanding what the research is, what is the role of the student versus what is the role of the mentor, what are the appropriate roles for each, what is polite or respectful behavior, and sort of the consequences of asking for help or acknowledging problems. So mismatches of expectation are really a constant theme in terms of conflict that exists in these relationships. So there's this, it's on the next page, and you can see it here, expectations in supervision questionnaire. One other thing to mention is that there are no right answers on any of these, okay? It is purely a personal preference for supervisors or mentors and the students that work with them. Responses may change as you become more senior graduate students, right? So your first year, a mentor or a supervisor might expect you to, I don't know, they might expect to provide more of the structure and the scaffolding, versus when you're a little bit further on in your degree, maybe they expect you to take on more. And the purpose of this is really just to structure a discussion about the different responses that people have. And so let's go ahead and look at this page, expectations in supervision questionnaire. I'm going to give everybody like 2 or 3 minutes to read through them. And some of the recommendations are to have the student fill this out and also have the supervisor fill it out and compare. Personally, I think it's more fruitful just to have your supervisor fill it out, and then you know what the expectation is, right? But I think it's useful for today just to kind of look through this, skim through this. Of course, you will have access to this document as well that you can make a copy of. I need to make sure that you guys actually get an electronic copy of this so that you could download it if you're interested. And ask your supervisor to kind of go through these things with you so you have a sense of what the expectation are, because they will vary by supervisor, it will vary by field. And so it's really good to get a sense of this. So let's go ahead and just take a few minutes to read through these. Oh, and I should just say, because I didn't say this. So the 1 through 5, 1 is basically when you agree with the statement on the left, strongly agree. The 5 is you strongly agree with the statement on the right, which is sort of, it's more the student's responsibility to do something. And then in the middle is that it would be sort of equal responsibility that both of them should contribute. Okay. So just kind of reflecting on some of these. So we start here at the top, kind of thinking about research topics. In some fields, supervisors are very much, you are joining them on their projects and you have set things that you are expected to do. In other fields, it is much more open and the supervisor might expect students to come up with their own research plans. So recognize that there's a huge spectrum here and it's really important that you have a sense of what is your responsibility. Are you supposed to be finding a theoretical framework or methodology? Should you be developing your own timeline? Is your supervisor or mentor wanting to provide emotional support or not? There are some that might feel really uncomfortable about, sort of building that emotional connection. Are you, is your supervisor a person who would prefer students to work slightly more independently versus one who wants to do more check-ins? And these are all really important for thinking about what the expectations are for you and learning a little bit about the personality of your supervisor and mentor. Okay, so I said earlier that I am encouraging you to think about leading these meetings so that you get the most out of them. But one of the questions, particularly when you're kind of starting out, is like, I don't even know where to begin, right? Like, how do I structure these meetings and what sorts of things should I be asking my supervisor or my mentor about? So on this slide, I just have kind of 8 different things that I think are really useful conversation starters for things that you might want to ask a mentor about or your supervisor about. So first is goals and skills. So this has come up several times already today. What professional development experiences should you pursue? Teaching experiences, conferences, peer reviewer opportunities, guest lectures, a variety of different things. In every field, these might be very different. Timelines, and one of the things, did I want to say anything else about this? I think depending on where you see yourself going after graduation, your mentor, who's obviously a faculty member here at Boise State, they may not be the best mentor for allowing you to gain the skills you need for that career. So thinking about how might you be able to acquire a mentor that would help you get whatever skills you might need for that career opportunity is also something to be thinking a little bit about here. Timelines. Would they like you to develop a timeline for your large projects or thesis? And if so, do they have any recommendations about how you might want to go about that? Lessons learned from previous students. What is their feedback philosophy? Again, something we already kind of touched on. How much time will they need to get back to you? If writing papers is an important part of your training, and this is like publishable papers, how is authorship determined in your field or in this particular lab? That varies a lot across academic disciplines, so it's definitely useful to get a sense as to what that looks like in your field. What are your mentors' expectations of work-life balance? How do they make time for the important things outside of work? And so if you feel comfortable, I would definitely recommend communicating to your mentor or supervisor the things that are important to you and kind of brainstorming the ways that you can continue to make those important things part of your life. Some supervisors may have an expectation that you're in the lab from 9 a.m. in the morning to 5 o'clock at night or whatever it is. You just want to know upfront what those expectations are. And having this good mentorship relationship can really help you know when you have time off and you don't have to worry about schoolwork, right? And when you can enjoy other things. What recommendations do they have for building your network of professionals to help you with the next step? And I think one question that might be really enlightening is to ask them about their relationship with their mentor or their supervisor in graduate school. I find it really interesting when I talk to other people, and sometimes, someone will say to me, "Oh, I really appreciated that my mentor just sort of was very hands-off, and then they let me do all of the things, independently, and I really was self-motivated to do all this stuff on my own. I didn't need much help from them." And that communicates to me that they appreciate that kind of relationship and might be looking for that relationship with their own mentees, right? So having a sense as to sort of their philosophy on the mentor-mentee relationship might give you some really good insights as to how to approach your own relationship with them. And then I would definitely encourage you to ask for feedback on your progress. So are you meeting sort of benchmarks? What feedback might they have for you on how you can continue to grow and improve as a graduate student? Okay, so that's basically what I have for today. Let me just do this conclusion slide, and then we can kind of chat about questions you may have and other thoughts that have come to you during the presentation. So in conclusion, I think it's really useful to understand the benefits of mentors for your graduate school success. They really, really do make a big difference. Set up a mentoring network instead of just a single network based on your different goals in different domains. Be professional in your role as a mentee and know your responsibilities. Learn your mentor's expectations and come prepared to lead your meetings as much as possible. So, what questions do we have and what thoughts have come up during this presentation? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for me, like also seeking out opportunities to be a mentor. That kind of insightful into like my relationship with.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so let me just reiterate that real quick. So tell me your name. Lacey was saying how being able to seek out her own mentor opportunities, so serving as a mentor to someone slightly more junior, has really allowed you to be able to understand sort of these dimensions of the mentor-mentee relationship and your own relationship, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we hopefully will be rolling out a peer mentorship program this year. So you're welcome to also be engaged in working with, excuse me, a mentor here who's also a student. Yeah.
Well, you say like the best way to like someone you're in your mentor. I mean, as far as like you kind of said, like schedule a meeting, but come with your goals and your questions and feel out if they even have the capacity to.
Yeah, I think capacity is a really important point. Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I think is useful is if you come and say, will you be my mentor? That's really big. Whereas if you come and say, I am really looking for someone who could help me develop these skills, or might be able to, I might be able to check in with once a month about my progress. Like if you have something slightly more concrete, that might make it a little bit easier for the person to be able to say, yes, I have the capacity to do that, or no, I don't. So yeah, so having kind of a specific goal or specific need in mind might be nice. I want someone to like come and just chat with, I think is harder on the faculty member just because of time constraints. So yeah, if there can be a bit more, excuse me, a bit more of a focus on what the goals are of the relationship, I think that can be helpful. Yeah, yeah. Other thoughts?
I like that you talked about just kind of just always thought like one designated person for everything, but I thought that was obvious when she said it, but I hadn't thought about that before, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And I think it is useful for thinking about like, okay, like maybe my mentor is not the super touchy-feely, like how is everything going in your life kind of person, right? But like maybe there's someone else that can do some of that emotional support. Other students or a more senior graduate students kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, if there's not any other questions, thank you guys so much for coming today. I have my email address here. You're welcome to reach out at any time. And yeah, and I will maybe just email the both of you the document so that you have it for future reference if you're interested. Great. All right, thank you guys so much.
All right. Thanks everyone for participating this week. We'll just wrap this up real quick as it's later in the week and we got orientation to plan for tomorrow. So thanks everybody for coming to the grad prep sessions this week. We got a lot of valuable information. Be on the lookout for our recorded videos to be up online, hopefully in the next week or so. If you want any other information or copies of anything that we worked on this week, let us know and we'll get stuff out to students. And if not, hope to see you at orientation and have a great week to start the semester. Thanks.